There we go, should be good.
And so we're going to resolve in the committee of the whole recommendation that council resolve itself in the committee of the whole. And again, 5 after 5. I need a mover on that. Counselor Aries, Counselor Evans, all in favor. Carried, thank you. So we have Fire Chief Agino here. And Brett, can I call you up to the middle here, please? I have something that I want to share with council and the gallery and with yourself. And maybe we could get a picture of this absolutely amazing man. So Brett is British Columbia 25-year long service award and recognition of your commitment to the fire safety in our community. Congratulations, best wishes on attaining this milestone. Your contribution to the fire service is greatly appreciated. It is individuals such as yourself who make British Columbia a safer place to live. So before I give this award to Brett, I just want to say that we have this issue with the wildfire this year near Sycamus. Every morning for 28 days, I went to the fire hall and he did a debriefing. And during that debriefing, he was completely intact. All the firemen and all the people that were there, this guy can get everybody's attention like I have never seen before. And not only that, do we have fire departments from Vancouver Island and from Golden and from Revelstoke, Salmon Arm, and I think we also had Sheriff Creek and whatever. And so you are very deserving of this award. And there's the plaque. I want you to hold that plaque right there. And also, this is pretty cool. There is a Medal of Achievement as well for this amazing man, and we are very, very lucky to have him.
Yeah, one more. There you go. Thanks.
Well deserving. Thank you. Right, all right. Sometimes it's actually good to be mayor. When you can do stuff like that. All right, so let's get on to, well, another amazing man is just going to give us an update today. Murray McNeil, our sergeant. You got the floor, Sarge.
Introduction. Doing a late presentation here. We're talking about the period of April to June, the first quarter of our fiscal year. I ended up I was away from my duties for most of the month of June, so that's the late report. These were the objectives that were carried over from last year: the road safety, relations to the public, and maintaining visibility in the community. As far as traffic, we carried over our traffic goal, 10 traffic stats per member. We had an increase in the actual number of stats that were written in this year as opposed to last year. Everyone can imagine why. Early in 2020, we weren't actually pulling vehicles over due to the new pandemic, whereas by this time this year we were. So you see the numbers are drastically different. 7495, 89 traffic stops, tickets or warnings are issued. That's compared to the numbers of 9, 53, and 51 for the previous year. So with an average of 5 members working resulted in 17 stats per month. Traffic goal of 10 was exceeded. Total numbers of 258 were much higher than, as I said, the previous year, 113, when we reduced them due to COVID. As far as impaired drivers, we only had one impaired driver in the month of May, with the vehicle being removed from the road and impounded. We had a couple fatal collisions in the quarter. One got a lot of media play or whatnot. That was the one on the Broad Bridge the end of May. We had to make some quick decisions with that one. Passenger vehicle coming in from Salmon Arm, exceeding speed limit, driving dangerously, numerous calls on it. So the decision was made to stop the vehicle. The spike belt ended up in the vehicle rolling with fatality to the passenger. The second one was just a single vehicle collision. So back in June, but westbound truck left the road in TCH, Nanquist for Malaqua. And no indication that there was any braking or anything like that. So it's just a single vehicle, road conditions were not a factor. We had 2 injury collisions, single vehicle on St. Westchester Road, could have been a lot worse than what it ended up being. Had a distracted driver go off road, ended up in a pond, so half submerged in water. Driver was able to extract himself and just had some minor injuries, so that was very fortunate. And in June, in the early hours, we had a westbound 70 across the center line of the highway along the rock faces west of town. A driver error suspected, likely fell asleep, minor injuries. That's kind of a repeat. We've had a few of them in the exact same location. And well, in the wee hours of the morning, all westbound. And unfortunately, again, we didn't have any eastbound traffic when the centers are crossing the line and impacting that rock face, which again would have made it much worse. So a couple of close calls there. We had no break and damage reported for the quarter, and we only had one the previous year, so status quo with that. Theft of vehicles was very light again. Had a dirt bike stolen from a condo in Riverside. The owner of the bike left the keys in the bike, and he turned up and burned around the axe. Someone like that, and turned it up into a vehicle and way to burn. So for the stats you see there, nothing really jumps off the page. We actually had fewer calls in 2021 and 2020, 44 compared to 536. Collisions are comparable. We had fewer abandoned 911 calls back in 2020. We were having all kinds of 911 calls for houseboats for some reason. People were just bombing down us. We had 47 of them in the period, and this time I needed 16, but a lot of them from the lake in that time period last year. So that's correct. Moving on to the next page. Calls for service are down, as I said, slightly, and we're just starting a new school year. So we've already kind of talked to Carla and Mark. We'll be doing the same thing we did previous years, going out and reaching out to the kids at the school and making contacts with them. We've got a fully staffed detachment, and I added on the end of the criminal code charges that we had for that quarter. Had a couple of files, just a normal domestic assault, and we had a domestic assault with a choking, assault with a weapon, and a breach, more serious file. We had a sexual assault file, and we had the last one related to the bridge incident, where the driver was charged with a number of offenses, including dangerous operation, causing death, flight from police, impaired driving, and driving while prohibited. That individual is still in custody. That's your report. This one doesn't involve summer, so summer's coming to a close. I'll get that report to you pretty soon, probably in the next month, and we can discuss everything that's going on in the summer. Any questions?
Mr. Malmus, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to thank you and your staff. I don't know, some time ago, I think we discussed the idea that we needed a few more guys in town here, slowing the pace down. And I talked with Piper on Saturday, and him and a young guy are at the front of the lead of this ticket writing for the guy speeding through town. The young guy sits across the highway from my house in that little mall, kind of out of sight there, and he comes out of there at 100 miles an hour, and he's got them before they hit Husky. So I'd like to applaud that. That's what we need. I mean, if they're made aware that people here are gonna write them a ticket, then they pass it around and they'll slow down because they were.
half dozen excessive speeds over the long weekend, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of those tickets written out. And yeah, that constantly talking about is Justin Borsa. He's been in sickness for 2 years now. Very bright young member, and you'll also see the police car outside the high school, across from the high school. He likes to sit there and just watch the speed of people in front of the high school. So it's not a good spot.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic and kudos to you guys because like coming out of my driveway, I'm looking and there's a semi at the Husky and my driveway is far enough from the Husky that I should be able to get out there, but you can't. So, thanks.
Any other comment? Go ahead, Gord.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, thanks, Jeff and Murray, for the tip there where the guys are. I just wanted to ask. Yeah, Murray, I just wanted to ask with a highway backed up like it was this summer, you guys experiencing any problem with that? And, trying to get around or like, I've never seen it so bad.
Volume was high, as you noticed, volume was high, but with the emergency equipment, still able to get around with it. It's just, same as every summer.
Mhm.
A lot of volume. The highway wasn't designed for that volume of traffic. It was designed 40, 50 years ago, and it just keeps getting higher and higher.
Yeah. Has it created any little fender benders or any more that you noticed?
Not a real note. I mean, we had to do the bridge, the front bridge. We always had that heading west and pretty left, and when I go on Woods Fall. And then we get a few rear enders just like that. That carbon copy collision there.
Mhm.
So when that bridge is changed out in the near future, that'll certainly alleviate some of that and improve that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So thanks, Sarge. And on a higher note, I know when you talk about fatal collisions and whatnot, and I know how difficult your job can be sometimes. So anyway, you're doing a great job here for us in Sycamoose, and we have high regard to you and keep up the good work, you and your crew. Thank you.
Thanks, Murray.
Thank you.
Thanks, Murray.
All right, so we're going to go right into the delegations here. I'm going to just skip over a few other things so we can get Natalie up. And she was going to have a report on, I believe we're going to be, so Natalie, is she here right now?
Nope.
No, she's not here. She was on as a delegation list up. Maybe she's.
In a Zoom?
Hmm?
I think that she's planning on being in Zoom if we can check that.
Not online yet.
She was going to have a conversation in regard to COVID, I believe.
Do you want-
We will wait, maybe. Oh, she's up on screen?
Not yet. She was advised that it would likely be around 6, and so she might pop on.
Okay, all
yeah.
right. Well, we'll carry on. We'll wait and we'll see. All right. I'm going to skip over shoot up tourism because we had a discussion on that. And then regarding the UBCM ministerial meetings, Jen, you want to comment on all of these at this stage?
Sure, thank you through the chair. This is just a summary report about the UBCM meetings that are planned for this week and next week. We did have one this morning with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs regarding municipal boundary expansion, and Councillor Malmus will expand on that during strategic priorities updates. Yeah, the meetings have been scheduled. This is, we did request quite a few meetings with health, but they were sent a regret, I think probably because they might be a little busy right now. And then in regards to the resolutions that we've submitted, so 3 of the resolutions are part of what they call the endorse block. So they'll just kind of do it in one big block, endorse them. But there is one that we've submitted that will be considered individually. So I know that a couple councillors are registered, so they may wish to attend. I don't have an exact time, but they may wish to attend to speak to that resolution in particular.
invasive species.
No, it is, the one that is being considered individually is protection for established snowmobile recreation sites for trails. All the other three, the invasive species and the protection of waterways and the protection for outdoor recreation opportunities are all part of the endorsed block.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's any questions from council, otherwise we keep on keeping on with our meetings.
So
Did you get those download for you, Malcolm?
all of these different ministerial meetings and we've got everything set up so that we can have an update and our direction. You've got that all in order. All right, and so I'll get Malcolm and Colleen to spearhead most of this stuff. Invasive Asian clowns. I'm just kidding you, we're just, okay. All right, so you've got that under control. All right, so any comments in regards to the ministerial meetings? No? Okay. Administrative update, capital project update. You want to give us the update on that, Daryl, at this particular stage, just for the benefit of the gallery?
I can touch on a few of these. The beach park washing continues to move ahead. We're probably 90% done with that. The profiling of the hill is done. For the most part, we bring in the sod, get it really established this year instead of hydroseeding. We'll get that up and running soon. There's a pergola that's going to be installed very soon. The pad has gone down last week, so it's really coming together over there. Wastewater treatment plant is a series of pours to get our vault constructed in the back. They're in the middle of building that very robust vault. It'll be approved. Anything else? The buildings are down. The last of the stumps came out today. It's been taken away, cleaned up. We're in the process of getting some signage in front. It's the proofs are in front of the slats and now for both signage ups. Talk about the future home. Main Street revitalization. We had some surveys that have gone out to the public. Options have been reviewed internally. There's some cost estimates associated with the different options. We're going to get down to some detailed design and get some options in front of council in the next little while. So that's coming soon. Owlhead Mountain Bike Park that we're trying to phase. We submitted our section 57 a few months ago. Through and we have an appointment on the site. And that'll be the week of September 20th. So we're going up with the slots and then we're gonna go through the course. And on that, this is the Solstice Moose Bridge. Had a bridge meeting yesterday. We're now in the process of taking the piping off the downstream side. And the old piping was the sanitary water line that hung on that bridge. There's 80 burners on that bridge, 4 big long ones, 70-some feet, and the 4 that are 50-some feet. 2 of those will be removed right away. And then they're going to go after the last 6 burners. And they're going to give us some notice. We'll get some notices out to the public. We'll have probably 1-hour closures and we'll do it away from peak times. That's coming and that'll be the end of that downstream side. So away we go with the new piers to get the second pad on, second half. So that's all I had on this report. I will quickly touch on the Princeton boat launch. Just for where we're at right now with that boat launch, we've got approvals for the demo of Mackey Square and the old federated boat launch itself. Archaeological site alteration permit is in place. Provincial and federal environmental fisheries approval, MOTI approval, Nav Canada approval. And so we're working on a couple of design options to get in front of the council as well. That's something we had, and I'll have something for you soon.
Comments or questions for Daryl? Councillor Mamas, go ahead.
Through the chair, so
Anderson, Councillor McCarroll.
Carol, what's our timeline looking like to finish that phosphate or phosphorus bunker?
Yeah, so the bunker will get built, the filters should slip in, the trench work, I'm told, will probably take 3 weeks. We've got commissioning of that whole filter system scheduled for middle of October. But the 12th is the date we picked.
Not related to the bridge project. It'll be on time.
It should be a lot closer to the target.
Okay, good.
Councillor Bushel, you're next.
Through the chair, Daryl, Mountain Park, Bike Park. Yeah, we have a meeting tomorrow. Are you attending the meeting tomorrow? Good, good. Okay.
Is that with Wes?
Well, no, we have a meeting with the ministers tomorrow. Like,
Okay.
so I'm thinking it's Rec Sites and Trails, John Hawkins. He was the last guy we met. He's the director of Rec Sites and
That's
Trails.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, 9 or 9:30, something like that. But that would be good if you could attend.
I've done that.
And then the other thing is for that September 20th dry run or with the SWAT scene,
Yeah.
do you want help with that, or do you want to do some trial runs or anything?
Yeah, we can connect. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
Happy to help.
okay, thank you.
Councillor Anderson.
Daryl, I've come to the conclusion that the beach park concession is not going to be finished in August. So I guess the question is, are we going to get that wrapped up this year? Or are we going to go into spring of next year?
So quite honestly, the beach park washroom will be functioning this year and all the broad strokes will be done. We'll have the hill profile and the grass on it. Everything will be working. We've stayed on budget very well. And so I'm looking for opportunities to grant money to enhance the beach park. It's not just solely tied to a bathroom. So we're looking at opportunities that may extend a little bit further, plantings, maybe some trail work, little things, but for the most part, it'll be done this year.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Councillor McCabe, you're next.
How are we doing on the bridge budget?
Bridge budget hasn't expanded any since the last go through with our engineer when he came and presented. We haven't had any costs that have ballooned in any way. Any overruns that we've noticed are being addressed through the mechanism that we have in place for things that are not on time. So I don't expect any bigger impact than we had months ago.
Thank you.
Question in regards to the Main Street restoration with the buildings and the removal of the trees and whatnot. Now, we got any idea what that's costing us at this particular stage? Would that be in the hands of Kelly, or would you have some indication as to?
Through the chair, so specifically, we're talking about the health center itself.
Yes, yeah, that particular area. Yeah.
We do have a very good idea of what it's cost to date. Maybe I'll just quickly run through the scope of work, because this is.
Okay, please.
I assume 3 buildings are going down, this won't take long. So today we've had completion of the pre-demolition hazard material survey report done. So asbestos, mercury, PCBs, base paints, lead boots, around the vents, vermiculite, silica. So they did a full hazard assessment. Preparation of the risk assessment and safe work procedures. So the company that did the assessment had to do the procedures. So we went and got a price. They were the best guys to do the hazard assessment. They wouldn't do the removal. So we found another company, best price, to get the removal. They couldn't do it without procedures. They didn't do procedures. They had to go to the first company, get the procedures, get the second company to do the work. True story. So pre-contamination inspection, high-risk work areas, collection analysis, of daily air samples. So that went on for a week. Air sampling. The power had been cut to the building because it was going to be, they needed power. So there was just things. Post abatement clearance inspection of the work area, collection analysis and clearance, air samples within the high risk work area, preparation of reports, documentation for air sampling, peripheral trees that have been taken down, dentist office, west view, stump removal, and now we're doing a sign saying here's what's coming. So to date, I haven't got the final invoices in for the actual work. We're higher than I would have thought. Yeah, it's going to be north of 150, north 150, and not goes down.
Way north.
Not like the old days.
I know.
How much did it cost for us to get that bear carved? It's kind of a neat one. Wow, Councilor Momus, go ahead.
Bear was somewhere south of 150, making them 250. You know, I'm assuming because like I got people that come to me and tell me stuff that probably shouldn't hear, but that's why I'd really like to hear the number with the on that demolition. But I'm assuming because we're government that, you know, we had to follow a certain set of rules, which are onerous to start with. And then, like Daryl said, you have a company that does this, but doesn't do that. So you go to another company, you got to go back to them. So they're all just standing there milking us. Like when I heard that the guy that knocked down the buildings had to wait 3 days because some guy had to come from Kelowna to take out the thermostats because they have the mercury switch in them. But we played with when we were kids. Like I'm going, they could have just called us. Gordon and I'd have been happy to go over and take those 2 switches out.
I offered as well.
So it's a good exercise, and I think the next time that the district of Sycamoose purchases a piece of property, if there's anything on it, we should buy it with the stipulation it's cleaned when we get it. Let private sector do it. It would have been a lot less money, a lot less.
Lessons learned. All right. Thank you, Daryl, for that. And any other questions for Daryl at this stage? All right. Good work, Daryl. Bylaw enforcement summary. Jen, can you give us, I don't see John here, so.
Correct, John isn't here, so I'd be happy to
Yeah.
answer any questions or write down your questions and follow up on them.
All right, any comments or questions in regards to the enforcement summary by John at this stage from council? I see he's got quite a list. Right to the end of August. Mainly traffic violations. Councilor Momus, are you okay with this?
I've been doing a good, nobody's complaining about anything that he's done. It's gotta be good.
All right, yeah, John's been very busy with the enforcement. He's doing a great job as well. Any other comments or questions on the enforcement? Okay, moving on. All right, building permits. Scott, can you give us a bit of a report on this, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we have 10 new permits in August, 1.9 million. 2 single family dwellings. I think the council saw both of those as variance permits as well. This only reflects the new permits, so existing permits or inspections as well.
And current developments?
Current development applications, you can see some of them that were issued at the last meeting in August. I think we got one new one since the meeting in August, and went through some of the other ones. So it seems like it's slowing down a little bit, but that kind of got over a hump and we're probably down here. We'll have a quiet winter.
Looks like you're busy. Scott also keeps us up to date with the planning committee, which we started this morning at 8 o'clock. All right, any comments or questions for Scott at this stage in regards to that stuff? Okay. Hearing none, we're moving on. Okay, the strategic priorities portfolio updates. Any comments from council on any of the strategic priorities at this stage? Councilor Malmus, go ahead.
Well, I'm not sure I'm looking for it. Rail trail,
It's the very bottom.
the very bottom. Okay, so number 18, it's at the bottom of the list, but municipal boundary expansion. So this morning there was Mayor, myself, Jen, Evan and Kelly in a meeting with the Ministry for Boundary Expansion, and we had a discussion and we were looking for some inside information. We had the staff had sent some requests for information to the ministry, to the lady that we spoke with. And so she did make us aware that there are some funding available for the study to do the boundary expansion. So I'd like to make a resolution that we actually direct staff to apply for the funding. We'll actually have to put out an EOF to get the price so you can apply for the grant funding. So
I agree with that. Can you repeat the resolution?
Sure, that staff be directed to issue an RFP to engage the services for a municipal boundary expansion study.
Good. I need a seconder. Councilor McCabe. Any other comments or questions on this? Call a question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Councilor Malmus. All right. Any other comments in regards to the strategic priorities? Councilor Anderson and Councilor Bushel.
Just a question for Jeff. Any updates on flood mitigation? Any? No? Okay.
it was looking here.
Councilor Bushel.
Just to Colleen, we're having a meeting with the minister on that as well this week or next week, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's happening next week. No, I just wanted to report that we did have a planning meeting, a zoning meeting today, and because we have a gallery there, they should probably make note if you have a business or, you want to comment. There's an open house going on right now, starting tomorrow, and there's, I think, 3 open houses, and then there's a business one coming up. And yeah, there's some changes to the zoning bylaw, so just, you might want to pop in and check our website, and everything's tells you when the meetings are, and just come in and have a perusal of the zoning bylaw for your area. So, staff's doing a good job getting that all put together.
Good point.
All right. Councilor McCabe, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if I could ask Evan to update on our doctor, Dr. Sadalan. So yes, the good news is he's going to reside in Sycamoose. I think the biggest news, other than his start date, which has been delayed a little bit just because of a little blip with the college, but no big deal, it's been resolved, is that he's residing in Sycamoose, and he's and with the assistance of Pat Gow, he's been able to get a home. So he's going to be here for the next 2 years. He's not going to be commuting. He's looking forward to starting. I don't know the start date. Kelly, do you know the start date? Sometime next week? Or as soon as the College of Physicians issue is resolved. It has to do with a licensing issue out of our hands, so it's in the college hands, but he's ready to go. I know I've talked to both Karen and the other physicians, including Snow Division. They've had a couple of meetings, including a dinner where they got together socially, and morale is high, and they get along very well so far. And they're busy. The clinic is busy. And I am quite surprised how seamless this transition has been overall. It's been very, very good in terms of going from the private practice to the community health center model. And now our focus, of course, is now on our new facility. But, you know, Karen's doing a good job and Dr. Saad Alam is going to be starting soon. So far, so good.
Thank you.
Wait, one last thing, Deb, I'm putting you on the spot. Communities in Bloom. Any update?
So we're 99% done. I submitted a draft report to communities in Bloom. I'm working with Sarah. We don't have to submit the final report till 17th. And I'm personally willing these dahlias to bloom over at the senior center to get one last picture before. But otherwise, yeah, we're good. Daryl and I have been talking and kind of finishing off the last few weeks. So that's all good.
Thanks, Deb. All right, so we'll just get counselors' reports here and then we're going to move on to the delegation. I think Natalie is online now, so we'll be with you in a second now.
Here.
Oh, there she is. You're here in person now. Okay, good. Okay. All right. I'm glad you're here. All right, counselors' report. Counselor Bushel, you're up.
Through the chair. Yeah, I've been pretty busy just working and haven't had a lot of stuff to do with the district. I've attended a couple of bylaw concerns with a couple of residents and which are hopefully ironed out, and just some zoning issues. I've got a couple things I'm working on with a couple of businesses. And then, yeah, we've had our development planning meeting today. Staff presented, we had the zoning bylaw review and talking about, you know, getting people to come into the open houses. So, yeah, there's lots of projects on the go for the community and it's looking really good. Really promising. Thank you.
Counselor Anderson.
I have nothing to report. I've been pretty busy, so.
Counselor McCabe.
Well, met with some organizations, but it's in camera regarding housing stuff, all positive. Got meetings coming up with the Union of BC Municipalities. We're meeting with Ministry of Transportation to talk about the 4-laning through Sycamoose and pedestrian bridge at the end of Main Street as the two key issues. Yeah, I went to a planning meeting this morning. That's about it.
Counselor Aries.
Sycamoose will be hosting the Fungi Festival again on 17th through 19th of this month, thanks to the tireless effort of Deb Heap. The Fungi Festival formed a society this year in the interest to be able to operate as a nonprofit, which has got a lot of benefits to be able to formal. The board is now, of course, Deb Heap, Judy Murray, and myself. That's about all there is to say about it. It'll be at the Legion like it was past years, and we'll see how everything goes with the rules as they'll be at the time. But the Legion's been a really good location. Thanks again, Deb.
Sorry, I don't understand.
For you.
Sorry, I don't understand. No, I like it. The planning development committee and been working with Scott and yeah, it's going good. There's lots of development going on. I hope the Parks View gets going. I hear that out on Hellier Road, Greg Darrell trailer thing, there's trailers out there waiting for people to move into them. They've purchased them already, but BC Hydro is like not coming to the party. They're waiting for the power connection so they can actually move in. But other than that, everything else is done out there. So it's kind of like affordable housing because you can get one of those places for $200,000 and pay your pad rental. So it's a good thing for the community.
That's it.
That's it.
Counselor Evans.
Thank you. I'm loving the fall weather. You can breathe. You can go outside without dripping in sweat. And it's nice to be through that hellish summer that we kind of went through. But
Same time, it shows the resilience of our community. I spoke with the principal of the high school today, and things are trucking there, and with the elementary principal, things are going well. There's going to be a pop-up clinic for anyone that wants their any families that want to get vaccinated near the end of the month in the high school. And but we got hardworking teachers there. I had a couple of meetings with one with Councillor McCabe and one with Janet McLean, the resource center, about our not-for-profit daycare in town, and working through some hiccups of the first 6 months of their operations, but I believe it's going to go. It's just like starting anything. It's not easy to start. And but one thing that was a great idea that Councillor McCabe had, and that's one of the strategic priorities, is to enhance educational opportunities for Sicamous. And he had a great idea to try and get some ECE training in town, maybe bring a teacher from the college. And so we're going to be working on some ideas like that so we can home grow some staff, because that's one issue that our daycare has is we can only have one worker per 8 kids. So we need more ECE people to grow that daycare. So it was a great idea. Kudos.
All right, okay, I don't have a lot to report apart from the fact that it was a challenging summer with the wildfire just outside of Sicamous and almost in Sicamous, and I have to give kudos to BC Wildfire guys and how well they responded, and the fact that we were able to save the trailer court and 2 Mile. And I have to thank the community for buying in when we asked 1,000 people to leave their homes. I also want to thank the RCMP and security out of Salmon Arm and keeping everybody's homes safe while the fire protection plan went into place. I was thankful for the fact that I had the opportunity to get up with the commander of the fire over the time that we were under siege, and I have to say this, even though they received some negative reviews from other parts of the community, I thought that these guys did an absolute fantastic job for us. I was really impressed with our fire chief and the debriefings I got every morning for 28 days. Gord joined me on a few occasions as well with Evan, and they were really good at deploying our resources in order to have that looked after. So one thing that is evident this year more so than ever before, even though BC was on fire, the amount of traffic that was on the Trans-Canada Highway and the conversations that I had with the Ministry of Transportation this morning, and the importance of getting, this Trans-Canada Highway developed and 4-laned, including our bridge, that has been somewhat of a concern for us, but it's becoming more evident every single year that there's more and more traffic on that highway, and how dangerous that highway is when especially there's so much transportation of trucking and so forth. But it's been a really challenging year when it comes to COVID, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that, because I'm going to forward this to our delegation, Natalie. I can never
Questions from the gallery.
pronounce your last name. Kilmo.
Carrie, should we do public input period first?
Okay, just hang on, Natalie. So do we have some, we might have some comments from the public, so they have,
If
if they've
anybody,
got a hand up, we can allow them to.
if anybody is online, would like to address council, just raise your hand. I don't know if there's anybody in the gallery here that would like to speak to council.
You got Deb over there.
Yeah. Anybody here?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. Nobody online? Go ahead, Deb.
Yeah, so sorry, but it's just because things are happening so quickly. last time I went to you guys and said I wanted support for beer gardens and fencing and stage, I've canceled the beer gardens. So I talked to Daryl about that, it's just the Legion didn't feel comfortable with that, given everything that's going on, and they're my partner, and so I had to respect that. So the Foggy Fest is going ahead, but it will be a little bit more like it was last year, with it pared down a bit, and no beer gardens.
Okay. All right, anybody else from the gallery that would like to speak on behalf of whatever it is that you'd like to speak on? All right, then I'm going to, I don't see any hands up, so Natalie, you have the floor. Step up to the mic and address council, and let's hear what you have to say.
Good evening. I want to preface with two statements this evening. The first being that I accept that what I am here to address today is outside of the powers of the municipal level government at all. And the second being that what I'm going to suggest is an opinion held by, supposedly and reportedly, a minority within the community. I do not want to be here. I do not want to be the voice of this minority. I honestly just want to go about my business, even operating my business in the way I see fit. So if I can boil it down to the most basic of personal motivations, I am here because I believe that if nothing else, to be Canadian is to honor our customers' constitutional right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. There are no fundamentals of justice I can imagine which constitutionally allows me, as a business owner, to direct my customer to divulge personal health information about themselves in order to obtain my service, or which ought to allow blatant discrimination against customers based entirely on the choices they make to further their own rights to life, liberty, and security of person. We are here today to discuss whether human rights and freedoms should be exchanged for the security of other people on a medical assumption of transmissibility. That would take entirely too long. I hope council will understand that what I say next is my prediction of the economic repercussions that implementation of the vaccine passport requirements could have on community. Once these mandates are put into place, small business owners in our community will need to go through the process of facilitating vaccine passport checks. Likely, this will be government funded, or should I say taxpayer funded. However, I suspect this will require more staff at some level or another to operate and/or funding to obtain the code reading equipment which might be required. With the readers and/or staff now in place, let's imagine the first unvaccinated family attending one of our restaurants in town and being denied service. I have already pointed out that this is discriminatory, but since we're accepting that the provincial government has the power to require us to discriminate against consumers attending our business, let's imagine that this family isn't very happy. They may well ask to see the vaccination passports of all of the staff working on the night in question. And here, Mayor and Council, is the first problem for our small business community. I would suspect that in our service industries, and in fact throughout all businesses, including the DLS, a number of us will have staff who are not vaccinated. If the purpose of rejecting unvaccinated consumers is to provide a safer, quote unquote, environment for our vaccinated consumers, then we would be falsely offering this safety if we cannot prove that our staff are also vaccinated. I will suggest to you that there are lawyers throughout this province and this country who will have a field day in our courts with these discriminations under falsely advertised pretexts at the business owner's expense. So let's assume that instead of risking legal repercussions, we're going to do the right thing and require all of our staff to be vaccinated. On that note, I'd like you to read over the business liability later, of course, that I've handed out, because this 100% is available to all employees in Canada. And I, for one, am not willing to take on this liability. So likely our businesses will have to lay off, and I'll be generous here, 30% of our staff. Because if they are not already vaccinated, I'm assuming they have a good reason for that. And a minimum wage job is not going to be a deciding factor which sways them to make a different medical decision. Since our business community is already struggling to obtain staff, let's imagine that a number of businesses now need to shut their doors as they can't fill the shifts they require to operate. I was going to be realistic with you, but I'll keep it optimistic and hazard that 30% of our business community closes due to compounded staffing shortage. Now Sycamoose is at 70% service capacity and ready to welcome guests for the upcoming snowmobile season. As I mentioned in a previous meeting, the Eagle Valley Snowmobile Club's economic impact study accounted for more than $10 million of income generated to our community here last winter. That despite lockdown and travel restrictions plaguing our tourism at the time. I have heard from one of our snowmobile businesses already that they are being flooded with questions from their guests on whether any restaurants or services in our community will be friendly to unvaccinated travelers. They do not want to come to Sycamoose if they are not able to enjoy themselves at our local eateries and establishments, and obviously cannot come if there is no hotel where they will be able to stay. I'll be generous here again and say that 50% of our regular sled visits will come out at least one time and spend money at 70% of the businesses. They come and see that Sycamoose isn't relaxing. Their health information is asked for wherever they go. The businesses are short-staffed and the service is not what they are used to. In general, the experience they hold so dear is now a bit of a drag, and instead of coming back again to utilize their club memberships, they opt to stay home, and our economy takes an even greater hit. At best, Sycamoose will come out of the winter with half of the income from last year at $5 million, and the funding that must be spent on technology to facilitate passport scanning, foreseeable staff layoffs, unemployment, legal fees, and finally lost tax revenue from closing businesses. Well, you get the picture on the offset. I know you think I'm being dramatic here, but I want to leave you with one final image. Rome is one of the greatest tourist attractions in the world. In July, you could expect to wait literally all day to access the Colosseum. Below is a photo of a sundown on a spring day pre-COVID, followed by a photo that my brother took on July 10th of this year on his vacation there. If you have ever been to Rome, you know how difficult it is to take a photo anywhere without a pile of people in it, especially of the Colosseum. My brother and his girlfriend had intended to spend 5 weeks in Italy. They left after over 2.5 weeks because, in his words, it sucked. They are vaccinated, as most Europeans are. However, they just plain got sick of wearing the masks, having their temperature taken to come and go from their hotels, being asked for their vaccination cards, and most of all, feeling uptight and alone in what should have been a bustling city bounding with people watching potential. They couldn't relax and enjoy the moment because the shadow of COVID and the protocols ruined their visit to one of the greatest tourist attractions on earth. So I simply ask you, if Rome is dying a slow and painful economic death from lack of tourism, what do you think will happen in Sycamoose and in British Columbia? I'm here because I believe the mandates go against the grain of everything it means to be Canadian. I'm here because the actions of our governments are demonstrably punitive to not only the consumer, but especially the small business owner. I'm here because, as Premier Horgan stated himself in a recent press release on the vaccine passport mandates and the policing thereof, quote, "At the end of the day, the consumers will decide." He's not wrong. It's just when the result of the consumers deciding has depleted our business community beyond repair, and our tourists no longer have services to frequent when they are finally able to return, how many of us will still be able to call Sycamoose home? I'll wrap up now and remind everyone here that policy does not work without participation of the people. We all have choices we need to make as we continue to move through this historic period in time. In my opinion, it would be nice if council made the choice to stand by as business owners and demand the provincial government disclose what fundamentals of justice and applicable scientific evidence is being relied upon to ask our small business community to police a discriminatory process that will have dire consequences to their livelihoods, the livelihoods of their employees, and the sustainability of this community. Thank you.
Well, you have any comments or questions for Natalie? No? Councilor Evans, go ahead.
Thanks, Natalie. It took a lot of guts and courage for you to be here tonight to express your feelings. I want to thank you for your excellent new business. Took my wife on a date there. We had some excellent beef dip. And you guys have started a very fantastic new business. I was gonna ask you a question about how it affects your business, and am I right in asking, will it affect your takeout? It won't affect your takeout, but it would affect your seating?
That's correct from what I understand, although we do not offer table service. But what I'm really here for is to stand for the other side, honestly. You know, there's a lot of people, that have come to me over the last few weeks. As soon as the mandate was announced on the Monday, I put up a sign in front of my business that stated that it wasn't going to discriminate. And I think that we all have a choice to do that, whatever the repercussions may be to us, to do what we think is right. And as a business, I can choose to let people know before they come in the door. And my consumer can choose whether they're comfortable with that scenario. And that's the way business should be. We all have a choice of where we consume. We all have a choice in how we operate our businesses. And these mandates, especially the small business, I mean, you see McDonald's is going to be fine to have tables, but G&G's maybe not, right? That's really what it's come down to, and it's been like that over the last year. So I really stand by that. I think this has really been a constant hit to our small businesses. And you got to ask yourself, how far can we push everybody, and what comes next?
All right, thanks. All right, any more comments or questions for Natalie at this stage?
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you have the floor.
Yeah, so my wife and I, we run a business in town, and we've got people coming from all over the country. Used to be coming from out of the country even, but the last couple of years, we don't have very many internationals. So a lot of our clients are calling and asking if they're going to be able to, go down to the establishments in town for dinner or for a beer after snowmobiling in the wintertime. And so that's definitely concerning. I don't know, I can't even answer their questions. We've literally made probably 50 phone calls over the last week to businesses. We've called the District of Sicamous, the Chamber of Commerce, Kamloops, Revelstoke, Vernon, Kelowna, asking businesses what they're going to do, because I have received nothing in the mail of how we're supposed to roll this out, or even if we have to with our business, if we're considered essential or non-essential. I did see that they let something out yesterday, or they made an announcement yesterday with a bunch of the rules and different businesses and what they have to follow and stuff like that. And so I'm going to be going through that and fine-tooth comb. But beyond that, even, we've called the swimming pools. My son can no longer go to his swimming class because he's not allowed in the recreation facilities. We can't go to the rec center here for public skating. I can't go and do men's hockey on Wednesday nights anymore. My wife can't even bring our children into the library here to teach them school. Like, where does the line get drawn? I'm a taxpayer in this town. My family pays property taxes, which goes towards these facilities, like this new health facility you're going to be building. Are we going to be allowed in that building? Because we're not vaccinated from COVID-19. There's huge questions, huge implications. The landscape of our town and of our communities and our country is going to completely change forever, and it's not for the good. And I'm looking for answers and nobody can give them to me. And to be quite honest, like, on one hand, it pisses me off, and on the other hand, it scares the crap out of me to think that I'm going to be a second-rate citizen in my own community. And then even worse, where is this going to go to? 2 weeks ago, I was denied medical care at the Enderby Medical Clinic because I wasn't vaccinated. And so I read in the newspaper, there was a Kelowna man denied medical care a couple days ago at the General Hospital. And so, like, this is scary stuff. And so I want to know if anybody in the room here has any idea of how this is gonna roll out, what the district as a whole and the people that represent our district, what we're gonna be doing moving forward, is it gonna be hard and fast, you know what, we gotta follow all the guidelines and that's just the way it is? Or is there going to be a little bit of pushback? Are we gonna be able to work together? Are we gonna stand for freedom? Are we gonna stand for not discriminating? It's just so many questions up in the air and no answers. So I don't know if anybody has any comment towards that, but.
Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, Ryan and Natalie, I hear you, you know, I mean, I haven't even looked at this rollout that came out yesterday, so I can't even comment on it. And, I mean, it's tough, it's a provincial legislation and, you know, so, yeah, we can't, as a council say, hey, you know, we're gonna just bypass all that. We just can't do that. When we have to understand it ourselves first. And then we can talk about it, but right now I can't even comment because I haven't looked at the rollout at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just my take on it as well. Recommendations and legislation coming out of the province, and currently right now we have an NDP government that has a majority government as well, so they can mandate whatever they wish. And I sympathize with your concerns. I tend to agree with a lot of them as well. At the same time, I'm not quite sure where we can go with this and how you can get the message out even more so. And I think that recommendation to Natalie is to get on the agenda with the CSRD board as well and come and give your presentation, no different than the one that you just gave us today. Get that message out to that particular municipal group. And here we are concerned about the economic environment of our community. There is no question that this is going to have impact. There is a lot of questions. There's no answers to some of this stuff. You know, it's coming from Dr. Bonnie Henry, it's coming from John Horgan, Adrian Dix, and we're somewhat bound by that at the same time. At the same time, we can always give out a message based on what council's appetite is in regards to support you in this particular movement right now. We'll have that conversation. We're not going to have it today because it's too convoluted. It's just it's intense and there's a lot of moving parts to it. And it's no different than, you know, issues like the Eagle Pass landing when you've got bureaucracy dictating to a group of people that volunteered their time and with all good intentions, and now they want to rip it down. Like, I mean, it's just absolutely crazy in my opinion. And these are just circumstances that we're faced with, and we're going to be dealing with a ministerial group tomorrow on that conversation. And I have a bit of an attitude towards that particular objective as well. So yeah, it seems like more and more within the democracy in Canada that more and more of our rights and privileges are being taken away from us just about every way that we look and swallow the so-called Kool-Aid that they're trying to give us. So what can we do about it? It's really challenging for us because where we're at is if we take one side or we take the other side, it's just a no-win situation for us at the end of the day because of the aggressive movement by the people that believe in the COVID vaccinations and then the aggressive movement by the people that don't believe because we're feeling that our rights and freedoms are taken away from us. Very challenging for us.
Interject for just a second, because it's not actually that simple either. And I think when you look at the ethics behind it, I don't know if anyone saw who put out a statement today, literally imploring the G7 countries to relinquish their vaccines, stop doing boosters, and let them go to the third world countries who require them for the people who actually could benefit. They have asked the countries to do the right thing and relinquish those vaccines, and that won't happen. But instead, what we're doing is we're infringing on the rights of the people in our country who do not want and have deemed for themselves, for their own reasons, that they are better off without it. To force them through coercion and through bullying, actually, honestly, at the end of the day, to take something that could be better used globally. Like, if we really want to talk about the ethics at the bottom of this, that's really what we're looking at. We are forcing it on people and children who do not benefit from this, when there are people around the world who desperately do need it and would benefit from it, and yet we hold them here. You have to ask yourself why, you know, as a country in the UN, why we would even do that.
So I was listening to CBC radio at 4:30 a couple mornings ago when they had a psychologist that was from Germany. And what is Germany going to do when it comes to COVID and the mandate now that government insists that you take the vaccination at the earlier stages? Government of Germany said that we're not going to force you into taking the vaccination. So the mindset of the psychologist was this, is that as soon as you force people to do something, they're going to resist it. I figure that 20% of the people that are resisting it right now would probably take the vaccination if they weren't forced to take it. It's just a matter of how people think. This is the psychologist talking about how people react to being forced into taking, this vaccination. It was a really interesting take by that particular person. But I'm not quite sure, if we need a card, like I have the problem with this card idea too, because, okay, now we're going to have, so you go into a restaurant and you're going to have to show them your validity card. Okay, then the waitress is going to come up to you and you're going to say, do you have a card, validity card, that you got your vaccination? And she says, yes, I have. Then you're going to say, well, does the cook have that? Does the cook helpers have that? Does the janitor have that? Where, I don't know, I totally sympathize with you, but what can we do? I'm not quite sure. Councillor Momas, you got the floor.
Thank you.
He's waving his hand.
Well, I believe what Natalie and I believe in the theory that it is your personal right. And they think it's for the benefit. And there are some people that when you get the shot, you still can get COVID and you still can transmit it to other people that have the shot or don't have the shot. But the part that I find appalling, and I think that this is something maybe we should consider addressing, is like Brian said, that he went to the doctors or the hospitals and they wouldn't let him. He's about the 20th person in the last 10 days that's told me that. That's a basic right, healthcare. And you're being denied it because you don't have the shot. Like there was a friend of mine whose kid got really sick and the kid didn't have the shot. Took him 3 days, the nose swabs to prove that he didn't have COVID. And then he was over it by then. But in the meantime, he could have died. That's where this system is wrong. I paid into healthcare most of my life. And I think I'm entitled to it, whether I had the shot or don't have the shot. And that's the only thing that I would stand up against, is the idea that you get refused medical services because you don't have the shot. That's 100% bullshit. I think as a council, we have an obligation to say that we're not going to support that part of it because everyone in this room is entitled to Medicare.
Yeah.
I've got two people in the back. I'm going to allow you to have the opportunity to speak because we're opening up the floor here. So go ahead. Just state your name, please.
What Jeff's saying.
Okay.
And what she was saying is basically, regardless of whether the vaccine works or not, that's not the issue. The issue is the demise of sick moves and our businesses. So that's what we really have to think about. We have to soul search where we're going to head with this. And I think we're all looking at who are the district backing us on that and standing behind us.
Thank you.
My name is.
Stand up, yeah.
I agree with what Natalie said.
Can you stand up just to?
What I have said, and the people on the council that have spoken this evening. My question is that are we able as a town to make a stance for the freedoms and rights of the people, at least in our community? And as Canadians as well, shouldn't we not have the correct side, be on the correct side of history? Never has segregation or discrimination against one group of people been the right thing to do, and this isn't either. Despite what Oregon or Bonnie are saying, or anyone else, I think we should make it known that we want to do the right thing. If that means doing a vote or what that means. But I think it's taking a stand is the first step. Despite what people are saying, right? Where does discrimination and segregation and anything else that they want to bring in? Just because a couple of people are saying that's what to do, that never makes it the right thing.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, would be a good, Mayor, you were talking about how there's people on this side and people on this side. I don't think it's about sides. I think it's about standing in the middle on solid ground, the Constitution, which we've always stood on. And it'd be great to know that the body of councillors would stand on that as well and take a stand like some other BC communities have, right? You know, with Dawson Creek and Peace Country, and there's a few other communities with the chamber and the council, they've all took a stand and said, we're open for business to everybody, regardless of skin color or what's in your blood. And I believe that we can do that, and I would love to see that we will do that. And I just want to encourage you guys, like you guys have a lot of influence and power, and people are looking to you to lead this community to greatness. And there's so much opportunity here in this town. And in this moment, we could be kind of become like a safe haven for people to flock to know that they have a place to come and enjoy a wonderful experience, so they can escape from the nightmare that they might be living in their community. And I think we can seize that and be an awesome Canadian.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions from council at this particular stage? Natalie, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll give this some consideration and we'll see where we're going on. It's a lot of info right now and a big decision for us. And so we'll try to digest this and we'll see where it goes.
Well, and I think too, I haven't come with really a specific ask, and I honestly feel that at the end of the day, this will be one in the judiciary. It will just take a very long time because those things are already in play. But as we know, the legal system takes so long. And so in the meantime, we do need to really make our own choices. And I've made my choice. I'm comfortable with that. You have to be comfortable with the choices that you make too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. I still recommend that you take a delegation to the CSRD.
Sorry.
Yeah, Natalie, I still recommend that you bring your presentation to the CSRD, and I think that would be beneficial that they hear what you have to say. Okay. All right, moving on. Thank you. Okay, where are we at?
Oh, no, you're right. No, we passed that.
Was there anything there?
No, we're
Okay,
fine.
we're going, starting there, staff reports. September 30th, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. There's a staff report, September 30th, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Shauna, would you like to comment on this and we'll see where this goes?
Thanks to the chair. I did a brief report on it. So this September 30th will be the first day that will be observed as National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. It's a federally mandated statutory holiday, but not provincial. But our collective agreement states that any additional days that are being observed either federally or provincially automatically come into play for our unionized employees. So this is for information purposes only. If anybody has any questions, that we will be moving forward with the closing of the offices in our facility this September 30th and every September 30th moving forward.
All right, Councilor Malmus, go ahead.
This is just my personal opinion and it's going to be risky. I'm not opposed to declaring a holiday in recognition of this But the final comment, the financial implications, there's no additional financial implications for observing this federally mandated statutory holiday. I don't know, when I had employees and they got a holiday, I had to pay them and they didn't show up to work. So how is there no financial implication? That's just a fundamental question, because, and if they have to work, then I gotta pay them double time. So that comment, there's no additional financial implications, is not accurate. Sorry.
I guess there's no additional impacts. We would be paying the employees either way. I know the implication is that we're not getting productivity, but no additional impacts except for the situation if there is going to be employees working on the day.
Go ahead, Councilor Bushel.
On a lighter note, I hope my boss recognizes that day because that's my birthday.
Yay, that's a good day for you to have off.
Thanks, Shona.
Any other comments? Any other questions on this?
Any other comments or questions? I don't have any comments on this at this stage.
Just, the only other thing is I did attach it to the report is that we actually have an interior municipal employer HR group, and we all sort of communicate with each other. So it was put out as a question, and I think I attached that for everybody so that you could see who would be like within the interior, who would be closing, who's not. So we're just sort of following what is happening in the rest of the valley. And majority of that is being dictated by, as you can see, by their collective agreements as well. And that the province is just imploring all public sector employees to observe.
Shawna.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shawna. Boy, all right, I'm not sure. Okay, going on to 12B. The EOI Shoe Shop Healing Center design and cost analysis. Recommendation that the mayor be authorized to execute the letter of intent between Scott Builders, Inc. and District of Sycamoose as presented this 8th day of September. Evan, could you give us an update on this, and we'll get your take, and then I'll get a mover and a seconder on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first document is sort of the summary provided by Brian Marr, which goes back to when we started this EOI process. We had our deadline of May 2021. We received 9 submissions, of which, in my opinion, and shared by the committee, at least 6 were credible submissions based on similar work. And we narrowed it down to 3 and 4 submissions. We had a lot of Zoom meetings. Councillor McKay was involved in most of those discussions. At the onset, also Councillor Anderson was involved. And we narrowed it down to 1 preferred proponent, which to us on the committee, including Councillor Edna Felix of Splotcine and Councillor Teresa William of Splotcine. Also involved in the selection was Judy Moss, who's the healthcare manager and advisor for Splotcine Health Center. We narrowed it down to 1, and you have their submission. You also have their additional clarification request dated July 19th, 2021. Why Scott Builders? Scott Builders provided the best submission in terms of experience to build the healthcare component and the First Nation consultation. I'm not going to go through reasons why we selected that. It's in the report. What we're asking tonight is for council to entertain this draft memorandum of understanding where we're going to go into a letter of intent. It's the first, what we call the pre-construction stage. And we have received, as you know, $6 million toward this facility through federal provincial funding. And the first pre-construction calls for an expenditure of $253,000, which basically includes the project visioning, the healthcare needs assessment, the constructability phasing analysis, the schematic design and design development. In addition to that fee, and you'll see it on the amendment where they talk about their design team and they go into their box of fees. They talk about the 5% project management fee, which is based on the total project cost of 6 million. So it'd be an additional $300,000 for Scott Builders to put together this building in addition to pre-construction. So this LOI, this letter of intent, is just for the pre-construction. So we could start next week's visits with Dr. Aveen Tafoya, who is going to be leading the healthcare component and the consultation. This all fits in within the budget that we submitted to the province for our grant application. We put aside soft costs, which include all our consultants. But we're very, very pleased to also welcome to the team the very esteemed and very world-renowned Douglas Cardinal, who's going to be the architect and is going to be leading the design of this facility. It's just an outstanding submission, A to Z. Scott Builders has done a lot of work with municipalities, and they've actually built community health centers, most notably in the town of Provost and the regional area in Provost, Alberta. And they've got a wealth of experience working with First Nations, and especially Dr. Aveen Tafoya, who's just an outstanding talent when it comes to healthcare and delivering healthcare and the community healthcare model. Community healthcares are more abundant in the United States than Canada. We are members of both the British Columbia Association of Community Health Centers and also the Canadian Association of Community Health Centers. The United States is way ahead of us in that model, of which we are trying to bring to Sycamoose. So with that, I don't know if Councillor McCabe would like to add anything, but we are asking for signatures to be applied, 10% deposit as per the report, so we could get the pre-construction start and underway next week when Dr. Tafoya arrives in Sycamoose on September the 14th.
Yeah, Dave. There was, like Evan said, 9 submissions, 6 of them were just literally world-class. We had people from North America and across Canada, and the package that these folks, Scott Builders, put together is builders, architects, consultants in the community health center area. So the way we have to move forward is a public consultations, work with SPLATS and to figure out what programs we need to deliver, and then do visioning or additional consultation to see what kind of building we need and space we need to provide to deliver those programs. And then the architect steps in and then starts designing it. So that's the rough sort of 3 stages. This is like I say, a package of consultants, and it's within the budget of our $6 million for this. And we're getting these guys were one of the best, well, the best presentation, but one of the more I'm not going to say cheap, but inexpensive proposals. We had proposals up 1.5 million area and some averaging around 750 sort of thing. So we're getting a great package here, and we can start the process if council gives mayor approval to sign off on this, and we can get him here next week. Dr. Aveen Tafoya is also hired by UBCM as a keynote speaker for community health centers for UBCM. So what a fluke that if council approves it, she's part of our team and she's a keynote speaker for UBCM this year. Nothing to do with us, but for community health centers to talk about health centers across the province. And she's on our little team in Sycamoose. We were just blown away by the interest that a lot of high, well-recognized professionals were interested in Sycamoose. And I think it's because of the Truth and Reconciliation and how we're trying to blend Western medicine with cultural medicine and working together. And it's just, this was before residential schools started finding unmarked graves in the schools and stuff. And so we've been at this for about 2 years now, you know, with this grant and shortlisting and buying the property and getting the houses down. This is the next step to actually get some staff so Evan can get it off of his desk and on to some our team to get it going. And we've got we're just blown away. The architect is seen pictures of him standing with Trudeau. Evan?
Yeah.
He's very well known internationally.
And we're talking Pierre, not Justin.
All right, so I would suggest probably then you would like to move this?
Yes, how's it formed here? Yes, I'd like to move that.
Okay. Do I have a seconder on Councillor Anderson? All right, any other comments or questions on this? Councillor Malmus, then Councillor Bushel.
So let's see, on page 27, which has got that fee chart on it. 15,000 square feet is $652,000. And then you're saying that you have to add this 5% fee on top of that. And if we go to 25,000 square feet, we're $1 million.
Well, we don't think 25 would fit on the property.
Well, it depends how high you go.
Sure.
Okay. So,
well, we don't think we can afford to go the extra height. Our budget restricts that. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, sorry, I have the floor. So, and then there's gonna be the actual construction costs. I just gotta get this clear in my head. So there's gonna be the actual construction costs out of which their project management fee is gonna remain at 5%, or is it gonna go to what most of them go to, 10 or 12%, like the engineers like to do. So this is just for this part. So we're spending 10% or 15% or $6 million to come up with a design so we can spend, as I looked at some of the buildings, they're beautiful buildings, but you ain't building anything that they got on their repertoire. Any of the stuff that I looked at, you're not building that for $5 million because that's all you got left, $5 million after they're done coming up with what it's going to look like. So if that's the case, then where would we get the rest of the money? Like, how's that going to be covered off?
Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, part of the expression of the interest was see if they were willing to also do grant applications, chase additional funding and apply for grant applications. And I think this consortium that is put together here with Scott Builders would reflect well on, we've identified some additional funding sources. It could potentially take different funding, additional funding, and the consultants are willing to help write those grants to chase additional funding. But for example, to make it a green building, we can chase additional funding to make it put geothermal in for heating, say, and on top of the baseline construction costs, and get easily additional funding to make it more green, if you will, a green footprint, stuff like that. I think with the more and more residential schools identifying more and more unmarked graves with the federal election, I think you're right. None of these buildings will cover our I think we'll have a little more than 5 million left after consultants, but that 150 came out of somewhere to wreck them buildings, stuff like that. So yeah, we're either going to have to work within the existing budget or look for additional funding. And I think we're going to try and do a little bit of both.
Go ahead, Jeff. And then
yeah, so I mean, yeah, we need a wellness center, and we're setting up our own doctors club, if you will, and we're gonna run this thing. That's all good. But if you look on page 22, project number 3,
I'm not sure if Big document.
It's 18,000 square foot, a single level building, and it was $7.2 million that these guys are bragging about. So I'm just assuming by our talked about design that we're 3 stories and we're this and we're that, and, you know, we're gonna have smokehouse or smudge pot or whatever we're doing. Like, this thing's gonna be $20 million. And that's a lot of beans. And, you know, personally, with taxpayers' dollars, my personal consideration is build a functional building. Like, that's what we need, is a functional building that has offices in it for the doctors and rooms that people stay in. It's a wellness center. These guys build Taj Mahals. That's just, and they're beautiful buildings, beautiful. But wow, it's gonna be a lot of money, my personal opinion. Sorry.
If there's available alternatives when it comes to optional grant funding in order to build a really unique building, then I think if that's something that we certainly have to consider. Mr. Parliament, you're up.
If we can go to this document, design team.
What page is that on there?
Doesn't have a page number. It's the supplement, the July 19th supplement, not this one. Don't get out of that one and get, the other. Yeah.
The Scott Builders Commission.
And with other
clarification questions, I think that's it. Okay, yeah, go down to design team. This page doesn't have a page number, just. So this was further clarification to Councillor Malmus's question, because I spent a day with these folks in Edmonton to go over this, so it's clear. We're going down. All right, up, there we go. Thank you. So based on a $6 million facility, the total cost, everything in, if you can just go up a little bit.
Yep.
We've approached this project incorporating all aspects of design construction under one team: architectural, structural engineering, et cetera, construction management, everything, all in based on a $6 million facility, which we have federal provincial funding for. The total soft cost consulting fee is $652,000, of which $253,000 you're approving tonight, pre-construction, and the balance is that 5% plus incidentals that break down this grid. So when you add up this, and this, you get that. Is everyone with me? The top 2 bars that run laterally, okay, that's pre-construction. And then down here is construction. So if we build a $6 million facility, we spend 10%. If we build a $10 million facility or 25,000 square feet, it's going to be over 900,000. Okay. They do build conventional buildings. The most recent is the town of Nanton in Alberta. I know what a $6 million facility looks like because they showed it to us. And it's plain, it's nothing fancy. But to Councillor Malmus's question, yeah, the work that Douglas Cardinal does is international. If we are going to build something more elaborate, we are going to need more funding. But right now, we're working with a $6 million budget of a total soft cost, as stated by the design team, of $652,000, of which $253,000 is pre-construction, which is what we're asking council to approve tonight. Now, having said that, we still need to go into negotiations with Scott Builders to complete what we call the CCDC, which is the Canadian Construction Documents Committee. So this is a standard form. It's a contract to build it. If during the pre-construction, the work of Dr. DeFoya, the work with First Nations, the preliminary design stuff, if it goes south and we cannot enter into a contract with Scott Builders and collapse these discussions, we simply pay for the work that Scott Builders has done and we find ourselves another builder. So it's this document and the details and the gory details of the construction that will be embedded on what makes up the balance not to exceed $652,000, if that makes sense. So tonight, all I'm asking through this resolution is that we get the pre-construction component, which is all of these costs going across of $253,000, And then we will sit down and work out the negotiations to get the CCDC document signed. Okay, which are the details of what the building's gonna look like once we have a design, once Cardinal does his work. And again, if we can't enter into these discussions and sign a contract, we simply pay them for the work that they did in pre-construction and we go find ourselves another builder. Worst case scenario. Okay, so we made it very clear to the team that we have $6 million from the feds and the province, that the DOS has already kicked in close to $1 million in land and improvements, and we're going to be doing a lot of Main Street work. We're going to be putting in sidewalks. It's costing us $150,000 to clear the site. That's going to be embedded in the $6 million. There's only so much we can spend. Anything additional, we either have to go to our partner in Splat-Scene, maybe find some First Nation funding, other truth and reconciliation grants that are out there. But we're designing this building $6 million right now, 15,000 square feet.
Councilor Malmus, go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And it says here, budget 6 million, our guaranteed maximum cost is 652. So it could be less than that.
Hopefully it will be less.
Well, and you can get this caliber for a 10% of your project. It's not a bad deal. So I just had to get to the bottom that this was going to be, and that we were working with the 6 million.
Councilor Bushel.
Through the chair, I agree with Jeff too. And I mean, we have to do the design and the engineering and the architectural work and all that to get to a budget that we can work with. And I gotta his expertise, because you guys attended all the meetings with him and your judgment. So, it's something that we gotta work towards to get a budget. And yeah, let's hope we manage it correctly. And we still, like, we got site cleanup and we got our own soft costs we got to worry about on Main Street. So we got to watch this one closely.
Well, I'd like to see the ball get rolling.
The actual construction management is typically 10% of the total project value of the building. That's your standard sort of PM fee. In this case, it's 5%. And they're keeping those costs low. There is a discount that Cardinal has provided. There is a discount that Dr. DeFoya has provided because they believe in this project. We've asked them point blank. I was expecting to pay, like Councilor Malmus said, 12-15% of the 6 million. When you look at the pre-construction plus 5% for PM for the balance to 6 million, that's extremely affordable.
Well, I can certainly see the incentive for them to go after additional grant money when it comes to maybe what they would like to build at the end of the day. And it could be in our best interest if they get that, if that happens. All right, any more comments or questions on this? We have a mover, we have a seconder on the resolution. I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Can I ask one more thing through the chair?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Just for the galleys. This is all 100% grant funded. There's no tax dollars other than we purchased the property going into this.
Correct. The outlay of cash is to acquire property. And we did some legal stuff and some survey stuff, but basically land acquisition. The big challenge moving forward, especially for Kelly and I, is the operating budget of this new facility and trying to drive the revenues, et cetera. But right now, with Truth and Reconciliation being on the national stage, we do believe there's other funds to assist with green energy systems, maybe some lead assistance so we can make this building sustainable and reduce the operating costs. But right now, yeah, the taxpayers' money and reserves have gone toward land acquisition. This building will be funded by the province and the feds.
Okay, thank you.
All right, okay. All right, moving on to C, Sycamus and District Recreation Center rental rates. Recommendation that a letter be sent to the Columbia Shuswap Regional District Board requesting to be considered as a not-for-profit under Sycamus and District Recreation Center user fee bylaw number 5816/2020 for booking space at the Sycamus and District Recreation Center to offer recreational programs. I need a mover. Councilor Bushel, seconded by Councilor Evans. All right, who's going to comment on this? Jen, can I get you to just comment on, you've done some research on this, and I would certainly like to see this letter go out.
Sure. through the chair. So just a background, and looking at offering, more like just different recreation programming. We did reach out to the management of the recreation center about booking some space, particularly upstairs, just for programs geared toward infants and preschool age children, perhaps some all age fitness classes or even craft nights or something like that, just for our community benefit, just some different offerings. And we were advised that under their bylaw, which they have no charge for that room, we would not be considered a not-for-profit and must pay the $40 fee per hour. That's cost prohibitive, and certainly we do not profit from the recreation programs that we offer. We actually have an annual net loss of $100,000 per year in offering. The programs that we offer are for the community, not just our community, but Area E as well. And so I think that we would have a strong argument. So I'm seeking direction from council if this is something that you'd like to pursue. And just bringing this, we were advised that there was no authority from the management at the rec center to give us that rate, that we would have to pursue it at the board level. So if council would like, we could send a letter to just request that they consider us as not-for-profit.
Any comments or questions on this, Councillor Malmus?
Kelly, can you tell us the last time that the district of Sycamore made a profit? Just pick a day, one of them. I didn't think we were.
Services, yeah.
I didn't think we were a for-profit organization, so we must be a not-for-profit organization.
Yeah, I want to send this letter out, and because I want to have the conversation with the CSRD board in regard to this, and I have to say that I probably won't hold back. Anyway, any more comments or questions on this? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I don't know why we have to go to the board regarding that decision of Jesus. All right, anyway, enough mumbling. Bylaws and policies, fees and charges of amending bylaw number 1009/2021 adoption. Recommendation that the fees and charges amending bylaw number 1009/2021 be adopted as presented this 8th day of September 2021. I need a mover. Councillor Malma, second by Councillor Aries. Any comments or questions on this? Going to call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're on to the correspondence today regarding cerebral palsy, World Cerebral Palsy Day. Recommendation that the Sycamore Roundabout display the color green on October 6, 2021 in recognition of the World Cerebral Palsy Day. I need a mover on this. Councillor Malma, second by Councillor Aries. Any comments or questions? Councillor Anderson?
I think that there's several organizations that do have days and have colors, and I think that we should find out who those folks are. And we should just run with that color that day, just schedule it right into our circle.
All right, we'll leave it up to Daryl. All right, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously.
Just so it doesn't come back.
Correspondence for action, Council of Senior Citizens Organization of BC Conference invitation. All right, who's going to step up for this? I think that somebody should attend this conference for sure. It's a virtual conference. Councillor Bushel?
I'll make a motion that Malcolm steps up.
I think that it would be, being that,
Second it.
I think that being that Councillor McCabe's, it's his portfolio.
Am I the oldest guy here? No, how old you turning on your birthday, Gordy?
So are you okay with that, Councillor McCabe?
What's the date? I don't see the date.
It's end of September. September 27th and 28th. There's all kinds of
Conference?
speakers.
A 2-day conference?
It's a 2-day virtual conference.
I did the last 3-day conference for housing. 3 days.
And you're still
It's your portfolio.
They're very full days too. They start early.
They're
and they go
full
to-
days.
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer some really comfortable headphones to Councilor McKay.
2 days.
Are you,
Right.
are you okay?
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Recommendation that Councillor McCabe attend the Council of Senior Citizens Organization of BC 2021 virtual conference. I have a mover. Gord Bushel, and Councillor Anderson seconded. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Correspondence for information. We have a whole list here, September 8, 20 CI list. Okay. My iPad is just running out of power here, so.
At 9%.
We have Village of Valemont support for outdoor recreation opportunities. They gave us the support based on one of our recommendations here, I think. That a letter be sent out to the Ministry of Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations and Rural Development in support of the District of Sycamoose regarding protection of outdoor recreation opportunities and established snowmobile recreation sites and trails in BC. So we got support from Valemont, from Tumbler Ridge, and I think some other ones. So from Enderby and the District of Highlines. Okay, so got support from all of those regarding that resolution. So thank you, Mr. Bushel, for that. And is there anything else in the correspondence that councillors would like to discuss? Councillor Malmus, go ahead.
The media release from the chamber talking about they did their little survey. It's pretty much a split on this COVID passport. I think it kind of speaks to the delegation that we had come here earlier. I agree with some of the comments about businesses in town here. The businesses have already suffered. They can't find employees. You said, your worship, that they're gonna, you're going into a restaurant and it's not mandatory for the staff to have a shot because WorkSafe BC says you can't force them to do that. So like half the staff in the district of Sycamore could not have the shot, and there's nothing you can do about it. In fact, you don't even have the right to ask them, I don't think. Where you go out into the public and you go out for dinner and you gotta explain first and second born and what the rules are. So I don't know. I think maybe we might want to actually consider, not that I care one way or the other, but the businesses have already suffered it. And I do agree with some of the comments that there's going to be people that aren't going to come. And we've had a great luxury because we've had a serious influx of people into our community. The houseboating community is doing exceptionally well, the best that they've done in probably 10 or 12 years. And that's because people have no place else to go. So we've got a lot of exposure, a lot of people come here. And now we're going to close that door again. So I think we might want to consider what the survey that the chamber did. I'm just saying it's maybe ask staff to have a look at what the legalities of it are, because the province is imposing fines and the businesses that tell people to come in. And I wasn't really aware of the Dawson Creek, they're whatever they're doing, but there are some communities that are going, yeah, we're not just going to do this, right? Like even Trudeau's getting beat up over this. Like it's got to the point now where it's not right. And I will stand on any block and say, you don't have the right as the government to deny Medicare to anybody, whether they've had their shot or not. Now that is where they drew the line in the sand that went way too far, like way too far. So.
Well, it seems that there's been dissension regarding concept for sure, and it's happening when it comes to some of our opponents that are fighting to become the next minister of Canada at certain jurisdictions where they weren't met favorably. Right, and so it has there's a lot of resistance, and it has to do with people being told to do so. But also Cranbrook is making a statement as well. So I don't know, councillors, do you have any comments as to what Mr. Malmus just had to say in regards to vaccination? Councillor Bush will go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, to Natalie and Ryan, I haven't had time to even digest. I don't have the facts, what the rollout is, so I couldn't really even comment until we know.
Yeah, okay. All right, Councillor Evans.
Yeah, I echo that. I would like to read that. I haven't had a chance. It just came out yesterday. But I'll probably write a letter about what I see as some serious overreaches, and I would encourage everybody to do the same thing. I mean, you can write a letter to Premier Horgan and to our MLA Greg Kylo and tell people how you feel. That's important in a democracy, to be able to make your voice loud. And I agree with Natalie. I think that in the judiciary, there's going to be an eventual victory for folks, but in the meantime, do what you can and write letters, make phone calls, and just deluge the people that are in power with your free speech and your opinion. That's what Canada is about. So that's what I want to say.
All right. Any other comments on any of the other correspondence at this stage? Hearing none, so then the next thing on the agenda is recommendation that the regular council meeting for September 8th, 2021 be adjourned at 5 minutes to 7. I need a mover. Councillor Bushell, seconded by Councillor Aries. All in favor? We're out of here. Thanks for listening, folks.